and there was a portal. These were souls passing from Earth. They've obviously passed from the earthly realm and passed through these, what I call the mists of judgment.
Stephen Chong, I'm so excited to have you on the show today and another fellow Aussie. So that's even more exciting for me. Really,
Absolutely.
really appreciate your time and welcome to Passion Harvest.
Oh, Louisa, it's an absolute pleasure to be with you across a great expanse of ocean, to be sure.
Yes, a big one. Well, let's get started and dive right in. You had a powerful, incredible, life-changing near-death experience.
Mm, I did indeed. Let me give you a bit of background on that. And I must tell you that subsequent to many things I've learned, I refrain now from calling it an NDE. It's rather more a spiritually transformative experience, but whatever. But if you can just picture behind me here, we're in amidst rainforest where we are now. No near neighbours, nobody to hear you scream, and as you do when you get into your 60s, I I was up cleaning out the gutters. Now I'm about 15 feet 5 meters above ground, and the ladder slipped, and the ladder went through the ladder went through all these plate glass windows you see behind me, and I'm on the ground amidst all this glass, and I can't feel below my neck. And I remember distinctly thinking, Stephen, you are in a deal of trouble here. And fortunately, it was a particular morning that my wife was here, and of course, she heard me scream and come to my rescue. And here we stand, all is well. Um, but the profound experiences, I must tell you, occurred not at that point of reference, but rather in the point of rehabilitation. So for months, I'm on a couch, good for no, good for nothing. I can barely move. And by way of background, I just prior to that, I've written books and lots of things, but I had retired. I was done. I've finished, and I've hung up my pen. But uh, prone on the couch, I've got this. It was the title of this book, like a hamster wheel going through my head. The Afterlife Journey too. And I knew what it was. I knew exactly that it was the universe, the divine saying, Stephen, there is more for you to do. There is something for you here. But like Peter denying the Christ, I said, no, no, I'm done. Leave me alone. But, eventually I've acquiesced and said, okay, to the divine, you want me to write this thing? Okay, I'm in. So it was a point of choice. And once I did that, and once I was capable, I sat in front of the PC. I had, I had no story, like any good author, I had no storyboard, no characters, nothing. And Louise, it was an amazing experience because I sat and I saw the colors, I heard the music, and the dialogue just came through. And it was like taking dictation. And this whole thing evolved in 3 weeks. It was done and written. And I every time I sat in front of the PC, I would never know where it was going, where it was taking me, but it was always there. It was just always there. This story just unfolded, and as I say, in 3 weeks, it was out and done. It was truly an amazing experience, but it was a point of choice. I had to choose this pathway, and I trusted implicitly. I never doubted. So when I sat, I never doubted that the words would be there. And what's interesting about many things about the experience were so profound, but the dialogue that came through was like Old English. It was Victorian of its nature. And as you can tell, I neither think nor write like that. But that's how it came out. That's how it was expressed. So that's the journey. Yes, so it took me falling off a ladder and fracturing my neck to to have the experience.
Gosh, well, a big congratulations on the book. Um,
Thank you.
and what an incredible experience. It's almost, I mean, there's so many names for it. One could call it channeling or divine inspiration.
Oh, absolutely. And people have asked me whether I was channeling or not, and honestly, I do not know. The way I would describe it was like mm, tuning a radio dial. What would happen in the period of the writing process? I would awaken in the morning and I would go to the universe. Right, 1 o'clock, you're on. You have my attention. We've got things to do and life
Mhm.
to live. So at that appointed time, I would put a cone of silence over me, like no nothing to beep or buzz at me, no interruptions, nobody wanting my attention. So I would sit in that state, in that quiet state, and then I would simply ask the question, "What next? What do you want me to write?" Cup of tea, and Louise, it never failed. It was there every time, and I say, "Oh," and it was again the music. I have no musical ability, but I heard this glorious music and the colours, not like forget the seven colours of the rainbow. This was majestic, 10 times, hundredfold colours. And the words, the dialogue was just there. So I just typed what I saw and heard. And I would get to the end of a chapter or whatever and read back over it and go, oh God, where did that come from?
Isn't that
That's how it happened.
amazing? Yes. Well, the book's called
Amazing
The
journey.
Afterlife, a Journey too.
Mm,
So when you say you saw all these in your mind's eye, plus you basically were downloaded the information to write of what heaven and the afterlife is like.
correct. That's it. That's exactly what it is. The images were so clear to me. And mind you, it was all in heaven, the whole thing. Oh, and I'm seeing through, by way of background, I'm seeing through the eyes of this character whose name was Athar. Uh, Now, in his life, as a child, he was abused under the auspices of the clergy, and and later on in his life, he took his own life. So, and when I met him, if I can use that term, he was stuck in this purgatorial state by virtue of the guilt and the shame and the anger that he felt. He was stuck in this state, and it took his forgiveness of others and himself that released him into the heavenly realms. And he took me on this journey. So he's showing me these things that I'm writing what he's showing me. That was the wonder of it.
And so you're a point of consciousness. So when he's taking you through this journey, you're seeing everything in your mind's eye, or potentially sensing and feeling. Did
Correct.
he? Did
Absolutely
he?
correct.
Sh Sorry, please. Sorry.
And I was, look, and quite frankly, I was doing my best to describe what I was seeing. I'm not. It's for others to judge whether I've done a good job on that, but to describe the colours and the music and the dialogue. Well, nothing was easy, but the dialogue was very clear. Uh, but the music and the colours, were beyond the normal senses. So I just did my best to just put that on paper through this imperfect vessel that I have.
Oh, you are perfect. We're all perfect. We just don't realize it. So what was purgatory like? What?
Oh my goodness. Um, I speaking from Athar's point of view, he was stuck in this. mm, it was a house, and it was ramshackle, and it was dusty and dirty, and he couldn't. What he couldn't do at the time was see a point of light. There was a point of because the divine never leaves us, but we have to find that light. And it took, as I say, the forgiveness of himself and particularly those that perpetrated such heinous things on him. Once that happened, the light became vivid and he was able to move into that divine state and thereby move out of that purgatorial state into the heavenly, into the wider heavenly realms, shall we say. And therein, he took me through a whole raft of different levels. A whole, yeah, oh, I could describe if you wish, but there was a school for children, a healing arena. We were taken to the nether regions, which are a bit yucky, but that's what happened. That's how. And honestly, Louise, even if I was in on drugs, I couldn't make this stuff up. I just couldn't. I couldn't even envisage it.
Um, Thank you. I mean, I will leave a link to your website and the book in the show notes, but I'd love you to share some of the experiences of your tour of heaven with the audience.
Ah, okay. They were all very profound, but let me give you one. Um, the School for Children. Now imagine again, I'm seeing through Athar's eyes, and with me is a master guide, and we're standing on a hilltop, and we enter. There's a magnificent building. Don't think just a regular house. This is marble, alabaster, and we enter this building, and even now when I think of it, it gives me chills. We walked into this place, and the love in this building was so profound that, let's say, even now I get chills down the back. And in this building were these different rooms, and there were these attending angels, mostly dressed in garbs of blue, and they were tending babes in arms. And what my understanding from that experience and what I was told is when children leave the earth plane early, they are so beautifully nurtured by the Heavenly Father and his angelic host. No child soul is left wanting. Every child is beautifully nurtured by the heavenly angels and brought to their prime of their spiritual well-being. Even if the bond between the parent and the child is not so well formed, every child is beautifully nurtured by the Heavenly Father and his angelic host. That was just one of the places I was taken to. There were a
That
number, but that was
beautiful and
highly
comforting.
profound.
Did you meet what we term as the Father or God or Jesus?
Oh, now isn't that an interesting question? The let me preface that by by telling you that every time I was introduced to a new being, a new soul, I would ask, "What's your name?" I'd get it straight away. I would know straight away. But then we would, again, when I say we, Athar and I, we were taken to up into a higher level. And if I could describe it as totally majestic, colors beyond the imagining, a building of white alabaster. And we met this master soul, young of appearance, glorious of nature. Three times did I ask, "What's your name?" Nothing. I was not told. but this was a master of heavenly realms. I've been asked a number of times, was it Jesus or the Buddha? I do not know. I cannot say. All I know is that what's your name? And I still don't know. That's so. I guess I just have to. We have to stay in the knowledge that it was just a master being, a universal master being.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. So, from your experience, heaven, you call it layers, I guess. What is heaven? Is it higher layers, lower layers in the heavenly realms?
Yes, yes. That's the way it was depicted. Let me give you a an instance of that. The Standing on a hilltop with looking through a thar's eyes, there were these beautiful mists, and there was a portal exiting these mists where these souls were coming through this mist area onto this dale. And what I saw, and these were souls passing from Earth. They've obviously passed from the earthly realm and passed through these what I call the mists of judgment. And when they become robed, they were, and some of the souls were dressed in robes of bright, vivid colours. Others were dressed in darker colours. Uh, but what I was led to understand is that the pathway that a soul is to follow is revealed in the robes that one wears. So those of the higher realms were just in majestic blues and whites and golds and things, and there is a pathway that is specifically theirs. So they had to follow. One was unable to follow a path of choice. It was a path designated by the colours of the robes, by virtue of what one has done on the earthly realm, designates where one goes in the heavenly realms. And specifically, there was a soul that come out and wanted to move. She was dressed in a darker, like a Hessian type garbs, and she tried valiantly to go up into the heavenly realms. Sorry, couldn't do it. She had to follow a pathway that was uniquely hers. That's just what I saw, and did my best to describe.
And did these souls that you described, did they look like human beings or were they
Correct.
okay?
Correct. Yes. Yes. But specifically, the colours of the robes did designate the pathway that one is to follow, and other souls are able to discern what you need in the service of love to that soul. So another soul is able to look at you and know exactly
What
what
you
your
need.
needs are. Yes. Yes.
Oh, how wonderful. And
Cool, huh?
you're seeing or sensing or experiencing all of this while you're at your computer
Correct.
typing or
That
not in deep meditation for months and years and not sleeping, but consciously awake.
Yes, absolutely. And I must tell you, so the process was, because when I write, I'm very disciplined. So as I mentioned, I would say, right, 1 o'clock, you're on, close off the universe outside, and trust that the divine would intervene, tune that dial in without distraction. Uh, and and trust was the absolute key to it. I trusted implicitly that whatever was going, and trust and didn't judge. I didn't think, oh, I don't like that, or ooh, that's not right. None of that. I just wrote what I saw, and it's for others to judge whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, or rubbish, or whatever. That's that's for others. But for me, for me, the words were a gift, a gift of presentation. And, I was talking to a nice man the other night and saying, well, it's like, for me, it's just like a smorgasbord. I, I, I was given the gift, I present it to others. They can take a little bit, or they can take what satisfies them, or nothing at all. It's all good. I mean, I cannot judge what they
No.
do with it.
Well, that's
All I can
right for
know is
you.
that yes, yes, it's the gift of offering. It was given to me as a gift. And Louise, I've got to tell you, from a personal point of view, what I have learned now about the afterlife has made such a profound difference to my own life. Diametrically opposed, almost, to what I I knew before.
In what
Let me give you an
way?
example.
Since you have
Let
incredible
me give you an
insights, what way has it changed your
let me give
life?
you an
And
example of
yeah,
that.
okay.
Um, 2 years ago, I lost my beautiful mother, just over 2 years ago now. And this lady is an angel. She is a divine being. And, ever since I was a lad, a young boy, I always knew, and I would say to myself, Mum, when you go, I'm not staying. I want to go where you go. Oh, but when she passed, with now the knowledge that one has from this experience, yes, yeah, you feel grief for her passing. Not she's not there in the physical anymore, but she is more powerful now for me than she ever was because I know exactly where she is. I know where she's gone in the heavenly realms. I know where to find her in this place around the center here, and I know she's ever present. So, but that knowledge has come from the learnings of this experience. So yes, one feels grief for the loss in the physical presence, but to know that she is there in at all times, at call, if you will.
And that we actually do
Uh,
not die, our physical body dies, and that's
correct,
all.
absolutely correct. The and I must tell you, the other most profound thing from a personal point of view, I have no fear of death, none, zero, because I know what awaits us. The love and compassion on the other side is just total. So it's released all of that fear of the passing process. And mind you, now I've got grey in my hair and life becomes a relative thing. But I now have no fear of the passing process.
Did you see in your tour of heaven people having a
Mm,
life review? We often hear about life reviews.
yes, 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 yes. That was those mists I talked to you about before.
Yes.
That's how they were described to me. When when we uh, when we pass over, we pass through these mists, and the cord, this silver cord that attaches us to the spirit, is severed. So we do not return. We pass through the mists. But in those mists is where, and it's not. I didn't see it as like these godlike figure sitting there and going, Stephen, you're a bad boy. It is not that. It is a review of what's happened in your life from a karmic point of view. This is what you has happened. This is what you still need to learn. And those learnings, if you will, are reflected in the robes that one wears. As distinct, Louisa, let me give you another place that we ventured into, was called the Abode of Reunion. Again, on a hilltop, looking down through a Athar's eyes, there are all these souls there. It was like a train station, if I can use the analogy. And there were souls there in the various colours of their robes, but there were other souls that were linked to a silver cord. And the silver cord went over the mist, not through these mists. And not, and again, I turned to this master god and said, what is this place? And what was described for me was when we sleep, the soul is able to transit over the mists to meet up with loving kin. So when we go to bed with an issue or a problem or whatever, a dilemma, there are loving kin, love is the bridge, waiting there to give us good counsel. Now, I can speak for myself, and I'm sure for you and others, that sometimes when we go to bed with a problem and we awaken and you go, oh, I've got it. That's the answer. And we have to, write it down or whatever. That's where we've been, to this abode of reunion. But getting back to your point, the this silver cord, when we pass over to the heavenly realms, that cord attaching us to the physical body is no more, and we remain in the heavenly abode.
Thank you, Stephen. And what were you given an indication of why we come to Earth?
The again, I've been asked that on a number of occasions, particularly
Everyone
around
wants to know why.
reincarnation. Everyone find our purpose in life. I mean, well, with the knowledge that we all have a divine purpose to fulfill. In my case, with the experience of falling off the ladder and fracturing my neck, it was a redirection to life purpose, to a higher purpose. So the the answer to your question, I believe, is become an awareness of what this purpose is, and be conscious of our attachment to the divine. Like, uh, and particularly now in this time of trouble and strife and all the worldly global things going on, it's even more important now for us to renew that connection to the divine, not just sporadically, but regularly, and to take that divine awareness into that meditative state into our daily lives. That of itself is a divine purpose, I think.
And for the audience, what would be your steps to do that, or tools or tips?
Oh my
How?
goodness.
How?
Louise, I love to do the ironing. Now that sounds pretty weird, but you see, for me, it's a daily renewal. So on a daily basis, I meditate, which is fine. We find space for this. But the real key for me is to take that meditative state into all that we do. Mm. So we do and when we're like doing the ironing, we shut the mind off. So this connection to divinity, to that divine source, becomes not a thinking process, but a listening process. So we shut the monkey mind off and let the divine come in. So when there's all this psychobabble going on, the divine's hitting, it's like hitting a brick wall. Uh, so we can ask, what do I do about such and such? How do I fix blah, blah? Ask the question, trust that the answer will always be there. Always will be there. So we quiet the mind, we do the ironing, mow the lawn, or whatever it might be, in the meditative state. And most important now, with so much going on, swirling around us, this spiritual transformation occurs when we link into that divine state in the things that we do.
Yes, so true and so simple. Um, Thank you. Did you receive any information about reincarnation?
No, I did not.
Okay.
And that's very interesting, because I've been asked that question a number of times. No, I didn't. Um, from a personal point of view, my belief is, yes, we reincarnate, to be sure. But in the writing process, no, I didn't. I didn't receive any information about that at all. Uh, Although I must tell you, I was reading about reading some words from Edgar Casey
Mhm.
of the last couple of days, and he described it as uh, um, from the point of view of time, and we think time is a horizontal, one step after another. But he described it in terms of the vertical. Time is now. There is only now. And the way he described it was like, think of it like a spindle with reams of paper. And I thought, oh, God, I get that. And each of those pieces of paper is the now. So from the soul's point of view, everything is happening simultaneously in the now. That's news from the last couple of days
Oh, well, thank you.
in my readings. But
So in regards to time, were you shown in your tour of heaven? Many times people that have these spiritually transformative experiences or near-death experiences see some glimpses of the future. Did you see that anyone was being shown that? Any of these souls?
no, I did not. No, it was what I did see, but which was really interesting. And let's go back to the writing process. So this book is written, and 3 months, about 3 months later, it's in edit phase. And Louisa, know that I've written many books, but I still do not know where commas go. I haven't.
Okay.
uh, I missed that part in school. Um, but I've awoken one morning, and it was again the voices in my head say, and I've read this book a million times, not a million, 100 times in edit. And it's like, Stephen, read it again. You've missed something. And it's like, what? What? And I did. I, I opened the thing, opened the PC, and it was like reading, when you read text off a piece of paper that's been highlighted with a highlighter pen. That's what it was like. I read through this book again, and what I found were 15 what I described as laws of heaven and earth, laws that have made it was like they just stood out to me. So I transposed them onto another piece of paper, and it, these laws have made such a profound difference to the way I view things. I've, again, changed diametrically how I think about things. Let me give you an example of just one. Fear not, you are never without the love of the Father. Just think about that. Fear, whatever we do, we go, we need not fear because that divine connection, the Heavenly Father, Mother, Universal Spirit, whatever we want to call it, is there for us. So we need have no fear. That of itself, to me, is worth the price of gold. But that's how that transpired. 3 months after the writing process, I was told to go and read it again, and I found these. It was like a quest for buried treasure.
Oh, wonderful. So the book's finished. The book is finished now. Congratulations. And have you had any more visitations or connections with your friend that you were looking through the eyes through, who was guiding you through heaven?
That's a very interesting question. I've got to tell you, in, I'm not kind of in, I haven't had the inspiration to write much. I've written a couple of short stories subsequently, but I've got to tell you what's really interesting. I've tried to recreate the language that was used by Athar. I can't do it. Haven't been able to do it. I've written this stuff, technical term, um, but it's different. It's coming from here, not from somewhere else, as in the Thar's case. So I've tried to replicate that writing style of my own volition. Haven't been able to do it, which is very interesting.
It is. And you don't want any more accidents to have to do it. So,
Oh no, no. Oh God, Louisa, if I ever go near a ladder again, it will not be a near-death experience. It will be a death experience because my wife will kill me.
so no, that's it for the ladders.
Oh, God forbid. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Stephen, what an incredible experience. I mean, just amazing. I mean, wonderful, wonderful. And it's like, I mean, it's so hard to describe in words, but you're doing a great job of just the profound what you're sensing, feeling, and seeing the visuals to put on paper. Sometimes I guess the words don't really do it justice. But I guess on a final note, is there anything you'd like to share with the Passion Harvest audience that I haven't asked you today?
Oh, it's a very interesting question, Louisa. And let me preface it by saying this, because I've been asked why I was given this gift in such a format. Because it's written in story form. It's about somebody's life. And the best I can describe them to my understanding is in this format, the reader's experience becomes subjective. And let me just explain that. Because we can read a book and we can read it literally and go, yes, that's good, that's bad, I don't like, and get the literal message from it. Fine. We can read the anecdotes and get the meaning behind the story. But we can also read a story of this nature at deeper levels. We can read into the metaphysical. Now, that is like the description or the revelation of universal laws, like the laws of heaven and earth. But here's the kicker. When we read a story of a gift of this nature, we can have a mystical experience. So we read something and go, oh, I've got it. That's it. That's me. That is. So it becomes a revelation of inner truth. And I understand profoundly that's exactly why the book was given to me in such format. So it becomes a journey of discovery, a treasure hunt from a reader's perspective, where they might find a little bit of treasure, but they might find a whole chest.
Well,
And that's why it was given to me in this format.
yes, I mean, I'm just thinking the energy behind the words, it's in some way, it's an activation for whoever
Yes,
is
it's a great way to
holding
put it.
it or reading it or experiencing. It is activating something within them through the
Yes,
vibration of
yes,
but I say the words of the book.
yes. That's a great way to put it. Yes, it is an activation. So, it's like a door opening, isn't it? That truth is inside, but it takes some sort of key to open the door for it to be unlocked, and it becomes revelatory of its nature. And then it becomes transformational because it changes the way we think about things, the way we live our lives, the way we enhance our relationships with others and the divine.
Mm.
And therein lies the key, I think, to all of this stuff that is going on around us. It's that renewal, that reconnection with the divine, and being still in the presence of this divine being. And I've got to tell you that what
Please.
I learned, oh, the spirit guides are there for us all the time.
On the earth
There
plane.
is, oh yes, there is no absence of this connection. We are able to I was taken to, oh God, we need another hour. I was taken to a spirit guide school where these spirits are taught to be spirit guides. But the divine connection comes in by asking the questions. I need help. What do I do? Where do I go? Not why me? Why does this happen to me? But rather, what do I do to connect myself more to the divine? And the answer comes. The answer will, without doubt, the answer comes.
Not always in the way that we expected the answer comes. It's not like we're having a
Ah,
conversation now.
well, therein lies the experience of the mundane. Of doing the ironing. So we shut the mind down. We do blah 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 blah. Blah. Oh, got it. Ah. And Louisa, when I was doing the writing, sometimes I would sit in this space. Most times it was instantaneous, I would know, but there were times where, oh, cup of tea, la 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 la, bing, got it. Other time, but there are other times we can read something profound, or we hear listen to music that turns the heart keys.
Mm.
That's the divine speaking to us in answer to the questions that we pose.
Beautiful way of expressing purpose and passion and all those things. That little spark.
That little spark. So then life becomes, each moment becomes a connection, an awareness of the divine,
Yes.
consciousness of the divine, rather than saying, oh, I'll meditate this morning for 5 minutes and then get about my daily life.
Mm.
So we bring that meditative state into our conscious awareness. So life becomes part of this connection to the divine spirit. And you
Nice.
watch miracle, but it's the knowledge that they're there, and you go, oh, I need a bit of help. Can you help me? Yes, is the answer. So then we listen for that
Yeah.
answer.
Oh, I mean, incredible experience. Incredible. Dr. Stephen Chong, thank you so much for being on Passion Harvest and, gosh, sharing your experience, profound experience.
Louisa, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you very much for having me on your program.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Bye, Stephen.